right, welcome old family and new family to Cipher Scholars, part education, part hip-hop, all culture. This is your co-host with the most, Brandon White, aka Bushido Garvey, as I'm known in many MC circles.
It's your boy Rob Blow on the tech.
Yes. For those who don't know, again, I repeat, we are Cipher Scholars, part education, part hip-hop, all culture. That's also part local, global, and universal. We definitely will get local today along with the global, right?
Yeah.
So we have a packed up syllabus as per usual. We're going to be talking about student data mining that's been going on underneath our noses. We're going to talk about distinguished educator leaving the RCSD. For those who are not from Rochester and don't know what the heck a distinguished educator is, we'll break that down too. I'm sure there'll be applications for where you're at with that. And then we're going to discuss the hip-hop Forbes list. So let's go right on ahead. So in many districts, especially leading into 2019, school buildings are getting more and more supplied with internet-based technology, whether they are desktop computers, tablets. A lot of schools and school districts are becoming one-to-one schools or school districts, meaning that every single student gets an iPad or a tablet of sorts, right? So, and meaning in some districts you could take some of these home, and even if you don't take them home, students have regular access to them in the schools. But I guess what's been happening is there's been a lot of surveillance from third-party private business that has been looking at student data and information through the access of school-supplied tablets and devices. In the case of, and this is from Education Week, in the case of Rochester School Independent School District, they hired a company called Social Sentinel, which has analyzed the data streamed from the devices in the schools and just collecting a massive amount of student activity. It's a little weird, man. I'm not gonna lie. So a lot of this was in reaction to school shootings. We'll get into that a little later. But it's just, I don't know, man. Some of these numbers are scary. Like literally, like millions of students, some 17 million students, I believe, have been had their information kind of just absconded from these devices and these third-party companies that have access to the schools.
All right, so what city school district were you talking about, though?
This was Brazosport. I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about and I say it right. Brazosport.
Okay.
School district. Yep, independent school district. They hired a company called Social Sentinel, but that's not the only company that does that.
Yeah.
It's also Gaggle. Gaggle's another company that's found a niche in this big data market.
Okay.
Securely is another one that's found a niche in this big data market. And the whole thing, I guess, is supposed to be in response to, and I'm sorry, I apologize for the misinformation. Hey, what's going on, Miss Larkin? Shout outs to the 585 report. I misreported. It's 5 million that Gaggle monitors. They monitor 5 million US K through 12 students through their services. And I guess it's in response to, supposedly in response to all the school shootings, right? Because one of the things that happened was particularly like the Stoneman Douglas shooting in Florida.
Yeah.
I guess the shooter had left a bunch of breadcrumbs about what he was about to do through his social media.
Yeah.
He said a lot of crazy stuff on social media prior to him actually shooting the school. So they were like, okay, let's secure these. Let's survey these networks, the ones that we're in control of, the ones that arguably parents or kids don't really know that we have the capacity to do that.
Yep.
And just make sure that nothing like this will happen again.
All right, so these companies are going through their social media, the students' social media websites, as well as their database through So they're going through social media websites and the database of all these students to check their backgrounds and also their tracks that they left on social media, right?
Yeah.
And this goes for people in foster care, students in foster care, those that have committed crimes, those that have been mentioned in unverified tips by law enforcement officers, right?
Word up.
You know what I mean? But the thing is, now, okay, that district that you talked about, is it also located in Florida?
It didn't say, but Florida is a spot where I think it's having the most, like that industry is having the most success.
It might be a spearhead. So Florida area might be the spearhead to the collection of the information through the database of the students, right? Or surveillance of the database. So I guess what I've read was that the companies that's actually doing this is not. It's kind of imploding on them because they're supposed to have the database surveillance set up months ago, I believe, or at least try to have it set up and running by August the 1st for the next school year.
Up in Florida. That was
Florida.
So Florida is really ground zero for this kind of industry because, and I don't think it's coincidental because that's where the most high-profile school shooting has happened in most recent history. So, like Florida, there's some Florida governors that are not governors, pardon me, Florida policymakers that are currently trying to create like a wraparound data system where a student's criminal, educational, and social media profiles are all put into one file by the government.
Yep.
It's a little spooky.
Yeah.
They're currently working on that as we speak. They haven't consummated that yet, but it's coming.
Now, the government and the companies that's actually partaking in this are having some trouble going through with this process because of
civil liberties,
because of bureaucratic reasons, bureaucratic delays, as well as the sensitivity of the information and the legality of the information too. Like, is this legal? I mean, is this legal? And the information is definitely sensitive because this is personal information that people have on their profiles through the social media websites, etc. You know what I mean?
Right. And here's the thing that I needed to also think about. What makes y'all think they ain't looking at y'all information when y'all use the school's devices too?
They already do it. Like, I feel like they're already doing that, man.
I know in the RCSD, the RCSD at K12. The email that has at RCSDK12.org, like. That can be supervised by anybody. That can be tapped into by anybody that's like administrator or up. So I hope that you're not like sending super private information through that kind of email if you have it. Well, even if you didn't use, oh snap, there's a little bug there. Sorry, you saw me get a little soft right there. But yeah, like so teachers too. Like I mean, in any of these districts with these third-party big data miners. Like if you're using their tablets, you taking the tablets home and you looking up stuff that's personal, like they clocking that. Like they clocking that. I'm sure it's not just the students. It can't be because it's the devices. It reminds me of and one of the articles said this too. It reminds me of what happened after 9/11.
Yeah. Right.
Like so the 9/11 happened. The buildings fell. Terrible tragedy. Right. And what did the government do? They used the tragedy as a reason to justify invasion of privacy through the Patriot Act, right? It's like, we never know when these terrorists are going to come, so we got to get all up in your information, even if it potentially is like unconstitutional. Same thing is kind of happening right now, at least from my view, where the school shootings are happening, they're tragedies. These big companies are capitalizing on that because like there's only a small amount of like they don't find anything like sizable. You know what I'm saying? That's like they don't find a whole lot that's sizable. Like, oh snap, we caught something that was about to go down. Most of the stuff is like, is that again like unconfirmed tips. A lot of it is false alarms. Like for example, some student said something about like another athlete having a shooting clinic. Okay. Like they're talking about basketball, but like they flagged it as a potential shooting topic. Like, oh shoot, they're talking about shooting. See, you know what I'm saying? Like so
I mean, and that's where it goes, man. Like this is state laws and federal laws, and this is all related to privacy laws. You know what I mean? So, like, you know what I mean? I feel like that's something they're gonna have to really work on, because some officials are actually in Florida are saying that they should narrow the database itself so that it doesn't touch on sensitive topics or sensitive privacy situations and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I think they're still I believe they're still working on how to proceed with surveilling the information of the students, or their database. Yeah. And so it's not. I don't think it's from what I'm reading. I don't think it's fully established as of yet. You know what I mean?
Do you think the students would care or care enough? Like if you ran up in the school you work at right now, it's like, yo, you know, all this could be surveyed.
I don't think
like,
they would.
Even if you were talking about something hypersexual in nature, or you were talking about fighting somebody, or if you were talking about like something that you were sharing a personal traumatic experience with another student.
I kind of don't. I kind of feel like the students will care less. Probably. I would think that they wouldn't really care about it. And reason why is because I feel like the students do not put surveillance of private information to the forefront of what they to the forefront of their affairs. Let me say that student affairs. You know what I mean? They don't put it up to the forefront of their student affairs, man. So
and if it's like, and if it makes you feel good anyway, are you really gonna stop it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's where they get their dopamine releases.
Yeah. You know,
like, you know, social media. Like, so they looking at what I'm doing. Okay, like whatever. I still feel intoxicated. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, and no disrespect to the youth, because like at the end of the day, I think all adults, all people that have, you know, that kind of technology struggle with, you know, not allowing that technology kind of controlling their behavior or their thought patterns or their moods. Like as adults, I know I've struggled with it. You know what I'm saying? Actually, I said in a song I did not too long ago, I said when in my feed feeling accomplished with no accomplishments. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause
okay.
You know, like,
I like that.
Like it's social media is something interesting. It's said it's information for genetically modified confidence. That's what I said.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? It's not real, but like if we struggling with it, imagine what the kids is struggling with. So I can see it being a hard sell, getting them to care like, yo, young man, yo, young lady, you know that, you know, your information being sold. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and the thing is, we kind of grew up before social media actually took hold upon the Americans here in the United States. You know what I mean?
We're older millennials.
Older millennials. So the younger millennials and people that's outside of the millennials, the generation that's even younger than the youngest millennial. Those people have grown up within the internet umbrella era. You know what I mean?
Don't know nothing else.
And you know what I mean. So I don't feel like I don't feel like they have much of a strong feeling about what is it? Privacy
and surveillance.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
There was a unit. Engaged New York had a unit about surveillance and privacy around the whole Snowden issue.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but that's like in maybe 10th grade, or it's definitely in high school. So, you know, I think that kind of education needs to happen way earlier. At this point, like even at like 4th, 5th grade, maybe even earlier, the way that these kids are interfacing with this technology. Peace to DJ City. Peace to K-Wood, peace to Monster, for listening on Facebook Live. But you know what? Looking at the Gucci, it is about that time. Let's talk more about education. Okay. About brother Dr. Aquino, right? So for those who do not live in the 585, quick breakdown. The Rochester City School District is one of the most struggling school districts in the country, right? And definitely in the state. So in the midst of this struggle, the state decided to send a man who they call the distinguished educator to basically produce an audit of the district to say what the school board and what central office needs to do in order to fix the school district. Right? There was intense debate about whether or not he needed to be here. Once his report was generated, it had mixed reception on the board, and that was maybe like how many months ago? Like 6 months ago. Now 6 months later, he's leaving, and this was not something that was planned. He decided to leave and said he was going to pursue other opportunities. So why does this matter? Why does this matter, Rob?
Because
from the untrained eye, even if you're a local person, it seems like, okay, he left, so what?
Okay.
Why does this matter? This man leaving?
Because like it's the reason behind his leaving. I guess he left because of the inability of the district to do certain things with parent engagement, probably some form of student engagement, the performance levels of mathematics and arts. He felt like the students are getting a disservice from the district in some form or fashion.
Yeah,
I mean, so. He also had like 106 findings and 84 recommendations that he left behind in his report after he left. 106 findings and 84 recommendations, man.
That's a lot. That's a lot of recommendations, and I think that, like, so I'm looking at the report now. He had like 4 main points.
Yeah.
That his recommendations and his noticings captured. Point 1 was the RCSD board's lack of understanding of its role as a governing body. Point 2 was a community with low expectations for its students. Shots fired. In a district that pays little attention to teaching and learning. Another shot fired. And then a district crippled by a culture of fear and intimidation. So there's nothing for my and again, anybody that lives in or works in a struggling district can identify with any of those 4, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of struggling districts deal with, teaching and learning challenges. They deal with the politics of central office being, a mess. You know what I'm saying? They deal with the cultures of fear and intimidation, which is definitely real in this district. And I think that this is important for anybody because, like, if old boy came diagnosed and then bounced in a short period of time, there are other pieces on this chessboard. Like I think this can happen to any city or has happened with other cities. I'd love to look at what happened with other cities in terms of
distinguished educators.
Well, in terms of people coming in from the state saying y'all need to do this, and whether or not enough time was given, or whether or not they actually were integral in the process as opposed to just giving recommendations and audits. Like, were they really a part of the process? And if they decided to leave, what were the other pieces that were going on in the city? People got to remember, like, education is tied with in terms of education politics, is tied with everything else that happens in the city. So right now, old boy bounced, right? That doesn't look good for the board or central office. It looks like this man had enough. He's tired. I'm moving on to other things, right? He left all this bad, all these bad notes about what was going on. He left some good things too in terms of some of the plans that they were acting on, right? But the overall push on the news is like, this man left because he's done. He's tired.
He's tired with the actions of the district itself. Right,
and so this is happening at the same time that the mayor is calling for a potential state takeover. Or suggesting that as an idea, and has decided to do a referendum with it. I just think that, so here we have the mayoral's office connecting itself to education policy. Why do you think that that's happening right now?
Because of obviously because of the performances of the schools. They feel like maybe the graduation rate is not increasing at a fast pace as like how people would like it to, you know what I mean?
Right.
The low performance levels of the students, the parent engagement, you know what I mean? I think it's a couple of different things, you know what I mean?
Man, like, I'm in skeptical mood today, I guess. But I think that I think we've talked about this before, even on Sister Larkin's show. I think that in politics, there's anywhere between 2 to 4 reasons you do something, but only 1 or 2 are always revealed.
Okay.
So reason 1 is like, it's a struggle. It's been a struggle, even with the graduation rate going up, even with the suspension rates decreasing, right? Like, it's still been a struggle for the district to get numbers higher than what they are, right? And something should be done, right?
Yep.
So therefore, you have that reason. But also, like, I was just talking about this with somebody from work who lives in the area, and I just, like, why now? Well, why didn't you call for this? Why didn't you call for state takeover when the graduation rate was like 31%? You know what I'm saying? Why after the suspensions are down and all this work is being done, even with the struggle? I think it has to do with the other unstated reasons, which is like Rochester's on the come up, B. Like, you can't have a raggedy school district for white folks that are coming in.
Well, did we have the same mayor when it was at 30%?
That's a good point. That's a good point. We did not. That's fair. That's very fair.
Okay.
And in fairness to the mayor, I think overall she's been doing a great job. It's not easy for anybody, let alone a woman, let alone a black woman, to navigate those spaces.
Okay.
But with that being said, I really do think, like, it's not just about the graduation rate or the kids. I think it's a political move because Rochester's on the come up. Rochester's now the #1 real estate market in the country. The DNC, the local newspaper, just said that. So you can't have a raggedy school district when your company, when your city is on the come up.
I see what you're saying now.
So now you got a little more elbow grease to make sure that all these investors, i.e., all these white investors that are coming in, that are going to continue to catalyze the gentrification process. You can't have a raggedy school district for their kids.
That's nasty.
You can't have it.
That's
you can't
terrible.
have it for them. So we got to figure out something, even if it's not necessarily mayoral control, which I don't think that they want, but I do think that they have more urgency because Rochester's on the come up.
That's a great observation, man. That's a wonderful observation with all these things with Rochester investing in itself and trying to rebuild itself all over again. You know what I mean? Like moving the bus line into a central location, rebuilding upon the torn down the infrastructure, the infrastructure of the city itself, right? You see a whole bunch of infrastructure near the river area, near the rivers, all downtown. Like, you know what I mean? So let me. Yeah, that's a great observation, man. That's definitely a great observation. So with the money being poured into the city, you know what I mean? Like they're trying to tighten up the grips on the city school district to perform at a better pace. You know what I mean? Because you know what I mean, with low performing students, you're gonna probably get
no, you're not gonna get people to move in. Like so.
Yeah.
So what's happening now is like, because already, I mean, it's already happening. You know what I'm saying? Like. There are white millennials that are RCSD, U of R grads, RIT grads, Nazareth grads, or even people from outside of the city in the Monroe County or Wayne that come in, right?
Yes.
Seeing that it's quote unquote, safer, or there are real estate moves that are being made in their favor.
Yep.
Right. And so it's already happening. It's already increasing, but not enough to allow for all of their kids to be safe in their school.
It makes so much sense now that you said the realtor thing, man. Because I see people from Shark Tank coming through here. Yeah,
right. Flipping our home. I flipped this house.
Yep.
You be
people
hearing
from
that
Shark
all
Tank
on the
is
radio.
actually coming here to Rochester. To talk to other entrepreneurs about real estate, etc. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's real. How many times have you heard DKX and the guys from Flip This House are always talking?
I don't listen to DKX.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Like frequently, those dudes from Flip This House will be having seminars here.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right. Wow.
Yeah. So
money is being poured in Rochester through its infrastructure and new companies being built here as well. It's got to be clean. The white folk got to have good schools for their kids. They got to have good schools for their kids. So, I really think that, because at the end of the day, like, who is the state? The state, like when it talked about in the report, it talked about fear and intimidation. That's the state. That's the state. You know what I'm saying? Like they said there was the district crippled by a culture of fear and intimidation, but that's a culture that's been passed down from the state. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the state is not a friendly, bureaucratic. It's hard to get support from the state, especially if you're not in New York City. You know what I'm saying? The education. So for the state to talk about something we're gonna take over, y'all ain't been on your job anyway with us. Y'all ain't been supportive of us. Y'all ain't really been helping us like that. We've had to, circumnavigate around your BS to be more effective in education. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've put up a lot of red tape in the process of us trying to make education better, but now you're going to come in here and talk about something we need to take over because y'all have a culture of fear and intimidation? Nah, B. I ain't buying it. I ain't sipping on that Kool-Aid.
I kind of like that. I like that. I mean, but I guess some of the recommendations that he did put up, I think they are some good recommendations for sure. You know what I mean? Like, let's how much time? We good on time?
Nah.
All right, let's move on. All right, next on the syllabus, man. We got next on the syllabus.
Oh, by the way, my homie DJ City that was listening. I will send you the link to the report. You know what I'm saying? I'll probably even just drop it in the video chat. All right, and on Facebook Live. So thank you for asking. Peace to Mr. K Wood for checking this out. JB, you're right. There are so many levels to this. More than are reported. Facts. So we got 3 minutes to talk about the Forbes list.
Oh wow!
So we had a really interesting hip hop Forbes list. There were some folk. I really don't pay attention to it too much. I just always hear about like the number one person and then the rest. But this year is interesting, especially the more I get into economics. But I mean, at the same time, didn't Trump just get recently called out for lying to Forbes? I feel like that's the thing.
I don't remember.
You lie to Forbes, or you play with the rules a bit to big yourself up in a Forbes list.
Wow. I
Trump
definitely
got
about
caught up with that. He definitely got caught up. This was
recent though.
This was in the past year or two.
Okay. All right.
And since he's been president, for sure, it got put out on the news that old boy lied about his information for the Forbes list. You know what I'm saying? So, but maybe the rappers didn't. Maybe the rappers got more integrity than this dude. You know what I'm saying? Salute to Jay-Z.
Yeah, Jay-Z. He became a billionaire, and that showed on the Forbes list as well. He became a billionaire through what?
Through his Rock Nation, artist management, sports management.
Yep.
A title, right? Trying to see what else.
The books.
Exactly. The green print.
Green print. Yep.
Yeah, we talked about that on an earlier show. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Like the tours, the
tours.
On the Run 2 tour. You know what I'm saying? So. Remember when we decided to do this story? I was like, well, is it him or is it him and Beyonce that's worth $1 billion? I guess it's just him, but with Beyonce, it's $1.4 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh, so you got the whole list then, right?
I got the top 5.
Okay,
I know how hip hop loves top 5. So number 5 was Drake.
Okay. Yep.
Number 4 was Kanye.
Yep.
240 million. Drake had 150.
Yeah. And it was said that Kanye actually surpassed Drake. Drake was actually ahead of Kanye on the list, and Kanye surpassed Drake because of Yeezy's
the Adidas deal.
Yeezy and Adidas combination partnership.
Yep.
I mean, he was making money off of that. No music.
Right. I was saying when I heard Kanye,
you're talking about hip hop list. There ain't no music to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean?
That's the beauty of this list for me when I'm reading this, because it inspires the entrepreneurship of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Look, it's deeper than rap. You know what I'm saying? It's way deeper than rap.
Yeah.
Has been saying that forever.
Yeah,
Rick Ross has been saying it. Dead Prez been saying it. It's deeper. These dudes are showing that. But after that, it's a Diddy coming in at 740 million.
Number 3, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Dre is 800 million. See,
Dr.
I thought
Dre,
he was
Dr.
the first
Dre.
billionaire.
But that wasn't
that beats didn't. It was almost, but it wasn't. It didn't quite break that.
He's actually up there. He's like over 800 million. Yep, he's almost up there. So
and then Jay-Z.
But Jay-Z became the first hip hop billionaire, man. That's kind of crazy.
Yep.
But what does that?
RC to billionaire. That's crazy.
What does that say about hip hop then, man? That's 40 something years, right?
Yep.
And Jay-Z been in the game how long? Less than 40 something years, probably 30 years. Let's say 30 years or something like that.
89 was Hawaiian Sophie.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
So 30 years it took from the to go through his ventures and to make it a billionaire status. You know what I mean? So that says a lot about hip hop. You know.
Indeed, man. Indeed. So, you know, salutes to the list. And salutes to authentic and entrepreneurship with integrity. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, one thing that can happen in the underground in the conscious community is like, you know, the whole, you know, what did you do to get that billion, right? Like the whole like Illuminati accusations and all that. Like, I do personally believe that to get to a billion, chances are you've had to, you know, hurt some feelings at minimum. You know what I'm saying? But like we don't really know. Yeah, we don't really know what somebody had. So you give benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? You salute the hustle, and you figure out how you can, you know, make moves. You know what I'm saying? Even if you don't necessarily become a billionaire, a lot of us can figure out how to make better moves for ourselves. But we are at time, kid. Man, time be flying. Yeah, so y'all been listening to Cipher Scholars. Y'all can catch us a couple places on 104.3 Wayo FM from 1:30 to 2 on Tuesdays, and then you can catch us online as well. Check us out on Facebook. Peace and progress.